Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to introduce to you Ingrid, Chester County's once-in-a-lifetime therapy dog. Ingrid is an 8-year-old rough collie by breed. So for those of us of a certain age, think Lassie dog. She's a fully trained therapy dog, having earned 8 different certifications for training and accomplishments. We go to schools, businesses, senior healthcare facilities, rehab facilities, community events, first responder stations, charity drives, and a whole lot more. And me, my name is John DeSantis, also known as the guy at the other end of the leash. So how did we get here? Well, I had wanted to do pet visits for a long time. I've had dogs all of my life, collies, and knowing the joy that they bring to me, I thought, wouldn't it be great to bring that joy to other people? So I had looked into the testing years ago. It takes a special dog to be able to complete the process of therapy testing, and I just didn't have the dog that could do it until I met Ingrid. I could tell by her loving demeanor, her calm disposition, and her responsiveness that she would be a great therapy dog. So our journey together begins about 6 years ago. I was able to rehome Ingrid in August of 2019. Now, partly why she was available is because she needed some medical attention. So one of the first things I had to do was get her to my vet. Now, my vet has known all my other dogs before Ingrid. She takes real good care of them, and she's always treated them very well. So when I would bring in a dog to visit, she would get down on the floor and welcome them and say things like, "Oh, you're such a good girl. You're such a good dog." And she did that with all of them. When I brought Ingrid in, she did that. But then, and she never did this with my other dogs, she stopped after about 30 seconds, looked up at me and said, "You have got to get this dog to CHOP, Children's Hospital." She could tell in that 30 seconds that Ingrid was going to be a great therapy dog. So we planned her treatments. She got her surgeries, she got her medications, she got her vaccinations up to date. And after about 4 months of vet visits, she was finally cleared to begin training. That was December of 2019. So what does the training involve? Well, you start off with basic, like proper leash walking, sit and stay commands. And then you move on to greeting people, meeting unfamiliar dogs. Then if you get to the higher levels, there are specialty tests, like a leave it test where the dog cannot eat the food off the floor. There's also a separation test, there's noise tests, and there's other things along those lines. So we were able to start training with the entry-level commands. Each course runs about 6 weeks. So we started in December, that brings us up to March of 2020. And then COVID hit. The whole world shut down, which understandably included pet training. So we had to stop for about 6 months. We couldn't do anything till about September. Now, because Ingrid had passed the first couple of tests, she qualified for the American Kennel Club Canine Good Citizenship test. So that's the blue patch. She passed that in about 6 weeks on her first try. That qualified her for the American Kennel Club Community test, which is the white patch. She passed that. That brings us up to Thanksgiving of 2020. And if you remember, if you were in Pennsylvania at that time, COVID restrictions were put back in place. We had to wait again. We were so close. So I started calling around, trying to find somebody that was open that was doing therapy testing. I finally found Paws for People in Delaware. Now, living in southeastern Pennsylvania, going down to Delaware was not a hardship. So I sent in Ingrid's information. They took it in March. They put us on the calendar for April. We go down in April. She takes the test, passes it on the first try. So now she is finally, after a year and a half, a certified therapy dog. But now what? COVID restrictions are still in place. We had nowhere to go. Places that would normally allow pet teams in were not taking visitors. So, not to be stopped, I started making cold calls. I started networking on social media. I started making in-person appearances. Hey, I've got this great therapy dog. Can I bring her in for a visit? And fortunately, almost everybody said yes. So we were able to go to a couple of stores and welcome their shoppers at the entrance. We were able to go to an ambulance company and visit with their staff. We got to go to a kindergarten and visit with the students at outdoor recess. The first healthcare facility we got to go to was Camilla Hall. Camilla Hall is the convalescent and retirement home for nuns in the Immaculate Heart of Mary Order. We've been to currently, present day, about a half a dozen, maybe 7 or 8 different senior healthcare facilities. And the common threads of the residents, they're advanced in age, they're in declining health, and they're somewhat isolated from their previous life. So when Ingrid shows up, she brings a whole world of companionship and a great amount of joy to the residents. So now, as COVID restrictions start to decrease and we're allowed to go to more places, when you start a new place, you really need a tour guide, especially if it's a healthcare facility, because you don't know the floor plan of the building, and you certainly don't know things like who likes dogs, who doesn't like dogs, who's afraid of dogs. So when we were starting this one particular place, a woman named Elizabeth was from the volunteer office, and she's the one who took us around. You also need to have somebody from your certification organization just to make sure everybody's doing things by protocol. No problem. That was Kate. So Kate, Elizabeth, me, and Ingrid, we go on our way. About the 4th or 5th person we get to, Elizabeth points to a woman sitting in a recliner, and she says, I think she would like a visit from Ingrid. So, following protocols, I go over, introduce myself. Hi, would you like a visit from Ingrid? The woman looks at Ingrid, and she says, what a lovely dog. What a pretty collie. And with that, Elizabeth, the woman from the volunteer office, and the nurse in the suite both reacted with, that's fantastic, that's wonderful. And I'm looking, because I don't really understand what's going on. Ingrid gets compliments wherever she goes, so I didn't know why this was a big deal. Elizabeth from the volunteer office leans back a little bit. We're still during COVID restrictions. She pulls her mask down and says to me, as she's pointing to the woman, she doesn't speak. Somehow, Ingrid triggered her to be able to talk again. So when I went over and I said something like, because I'm trying to process this. This is all taking place in about 10 seconds. So I went over and I said, oh, what kind of dogs do you like? And that quickly, she couldn't respond anymore. But Ingrid made an impact on her that got her speaking, although for a brief time, that was the first time she had spoken in a long time. Besides being good with seniors, Ingrid's also very good with students and kids really of all ages. And we get to go to a lot of school visits. So one particular visit, we get to spend time with the autistic kids in the class. And the kids were from all across the spectrum, which made it a really meaningful visit. One kid in particular, no filter. Rapid fire questions. What's her name? How old is she? What kind of breed is she? Before I can really answer, he looks up at me and he says, what's your name? How old are you? So the visit's going very well. Kids are engaging with Ingrid, but I notice off to the side, there's a couple kids who didn't come over yet. So in a quiet moment, I went over and I said, would you like to come over and see Ingrid? And they both said separately, but basically the same thing. We're afraid she might bite. Ingrid doesn't bite, but I respect the fear. So I said, okay, come on over. I'll tell you what we'll do. I'll keep her face busy. You come over and pat her back here. And when they were ready, they came over and patted her on the back. That went very well. They seemed happy. So I said, okay, I'll keep her face busy. I'll take off her drape so you can work up her back. Well, they did that too. By the end of the visit, they were hugging her and feeding her. So she definitely won them over. And what made that very memorable, 2 days later, I get thank you notes from the kids. Thank you for bringing Ingrid. We really appreciate it. We love meeting her. And what made it really special, they were handwritten letters. So I know it was authentic. If you know autistic kids, you know what I mean. So besides going to schools and healthcare facilities, we get a chance to go to rehab facilities. And the average stay for someone in a rehab facility, maybe 3 weeks or more. There are 20 different kinds of addictions, so it really depends what they're dealing with. So we've been visiting men and women. There are different age groups. So we've gotten to go there about 12 times. And after this one particular visit, it's small, but it's meaningful. One of the gentlemen stopped. We were on our way out, and he said, thank you so much for coming. I can't believe you guys came to see us. Like, he felt so emboldened and happy that some stranger would come in off the street and bring their dog to see him, because the people that are in the rehab facility, they're fairly well isolated. They don't have family, and they certainly don't have pets, and there's no technology. So somebody from the outside bringing a pet in to see them, they were very happy with that. So Ingrid's made an impact in that area too. We also go to a homeless shelter in Westchester. And this one particular woman had told us that in order to get into the homeless shelter, she was getting out of an abusive relationship. In order to get into the homeless shelter, she had to give up her dog. And for the homeless shelter, the description's kind of about the same. The average stay is about 3 or 4 months. They get 3 meals a day, they get a roof over their head, and they get a chance to move their life forward, but no pets. So when I bring Ingrid in, it really lights up the room. So this woman who had to give up her dog sees Ingrid. She comes over, gets down on the floor with her. She's hugging her, she's kissing her, and literally tears of joy because she missed her dog so much, and Ingrid was filling in that void. So we've had the opportunity to really impact a lot of lives. So these kinds of visits help illustrate the benefits of pet therapy, and they're really twofold. There are mental health benefits and there are physical health benefits. The mental health benefits include things like alleviating boredom, reducing anxiety, reducing loneliness, hopefully bringing down depression. The physical benefits would be things like stabilizing your blood pressure, easing your breathing, and improved motor skills when you pet. Physiologically, what your brain is doing is releasing mood regulators. These are the feel-good chemicals like oxytocin and serotonin. So they help regulate things like improved brain focus. They deal with increased pain tolerance, and again, better motor function. So it's scientifically proven, if you get a visit from Ingrid, you're gonna feel better. But seriously, pet therapy is also called complementary medicine, because you get these physical benefits and these mental health benefits without the need of pills or injections. Since we've been certified in 2021, I've really only had 2 goals. Get Ingrid to as many people as possible and advocate for pet therapy. At this point, we've done over 800 volunteer visits in and around our community, and we've been fortunate enough to have a lot of great experiences. In 2023, the Collie Club of America selected us as their ambassador team. Ingrid has won the Good Dog Gold Medal for her service. A couple of fun perks here. Ingrid is the first and only dog to be a member of the Greater Westchester Chamber of Commerce. She is the first and only dog to be on the Chester County Suicide Prevention Partnership. We're both QPR certified, so if there ever is an intervention, we're ready to go. We have proclamations from the Chester County Commissioners and also from Pennsylvania Governor Shapiro, thanking us and acknowledging our service. Ingrid has been covered by 2 different news organizations on TV, and then she's also been in about, half a dozen or more newspaper and magazine articles around the county. Now, the media and the acknowledgments are nice, but the real thing, the public part of this that's good for me, is the positive impact we've had on so many people's lives. I always tell people, Ingrid keeps me busy, but it's a good busy, because we get to do a lot of really fun things, and we get to meet a lot of people, and I've forged very good friendships with these people that I would not have normally met if we weren't doing the pet visits. When I first started this, I never really thought that this is where we would be. If you had asked me 5 years ago when we were struggling through COVID, John, where are you going to be in 5 years? Having the honor of doing a TED Talk was not on my bingo card. So I benefit from the visits as well. Personally or privately, I've been able to do little things like I've become a much better listener, which makes me a better conversationalist for our visits, but with people in general too. But then there's bigger things. Like, I'm more aware of what people are struggling with because I've seen them firsthand, whether it's a senior struggling with aging, somebody battling addiction, or somebody just going through a tough health situation. It's made me more empathetic to these situations, and then I'm much better able to appreciate where I am in my health journey. So in closing, I would just like to tell you, and I tell this to anybody who will listen, doing these pet visits has really been one of the best things I've ever done. It really has made me a better person, which I think is something we can all strive to be. Thank you.